Jessica Joy Revelis with Women Who Work TV, live in Hollywood at WCOBM. Happy to be here, grateful to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in. So if you caught the beginning of the show, you know a little bit more about me, that I used to be a wallflower, right? So super shy, super introverted. I obviously was able to overcome that obstacle and come out of my shell in working with kids, and I kind of went into more detail on that personal anecdote. So feel free to catch the archive or the replay Friday at WCOBM.com. You'll click on Hollywood, click on Women Who Work, and then you'll find those archives there. But let's move forward. So you heard a little bit about my story. I was able to overcome the obstacle of being really shy and introverted and and kind of to myself. And interestingly, I think almost like my default is that I would prefer to do a one-on-one. I prefer to work in smaller groups. Even being here on air and being live is interesting. It's a little bit of a solitary experience, right? Because I'm just here by myself in front of the camera. We've got our crew here and the technicians and the studio execs and all that stuff. But really what it comes down to every Wednesday is that I'm here one-on-one with you with the camera. So even that's a little bit more of a solitary experience, even though it's being broadcast all over the world and all over social media, so that, thousands and tens of thousands of people are seeing this. I don't get that sense of, overwhelm that I'm in front of a big audience just because, they're not physically here right now. This is obviously it's broadcast. So I think my default is, doing either this kind of environment where I'm one-on-one, I'm speaking to the camera, or having a one-on-one session, even, grabbing coffee with a friend. I do prefer those more intimate environments. And then I think when I notice about myself, when I do go to a networking event and there is a big crowd, my immediate response is to realize, okay, I need to take a breather and regroup and figure out what is going to be my strategy going into this event. So even, just so you know, even those who are really shy, and whether you're able to, whatever level you're able to overcome your feelings of overwhelm or shyness or just fear of interacting with people in crowds, at whatever point that you do that, it's still, even people who are seasoned like myself in networking and being on camera and interacting with a lot of people or speaking as I do, at universities and colleges, even at that level, once you get there, there's still going to be nerves, and there's still going to be things that go wrong or unexpectedly. And so I think that's where the power networking component comes in, where if you can take a step back as you're going into this environment that's potentially stressful for you, and just think, okay, what are 3 things that I want to get out of this experience, and how can I get myself to achieve those goals? That's usually what I do. So when I'm going into a situation where I'm overwhelmed, or I'm going to speak, I'm going to network, I'm in a big group or crowd, which I don't like crowds. So I don't know how many people who do enjoy crowds, but I just literally take a breather. And I take a moment to gather my thoughts, and I think, okay, I need to remind myself, what is my number 1 objective from this event? And then sometimes I will break it down into the 3 goals that I have as far as what I want to get out of that event. So what that looks like is, before going into a room, I think, okay, for the most part, my number 1 objective is I want to make a connection with at least one person. It sounds simple and almost silly. Like, why would I go to the length of sitting in traffic for 2 hours to get downtown, to go, get my ticket, dress up, put my makeup, my hair and makeup and my outfit and all those things together just to meet one person? Well, I'll tell you what, one person can change your life dramatically, and you can't even imagine, in ways that you can't even imagine and that you would never be able to anticipate. And so you have to go out on that limb, and if you can focus on just the one person, it makes it, I think, doable. And I think the quality component comes in where it's quality over quantity, right? So if you can have a quality conversation with at least one person and exchange a business card and really exchange a conversation with one person, it could be tremendously beneficial for you. That doesn't mean that you're only going to seek out and talk to one person. You might have to interact with 10 people. You might have to interact with 5 or 20 people even, and exchange cards, or have some kind of elementary conversation, or maybe superficial conversation about the weather. I don't know. But you might have to interact with a few people or a dozen people before you get to that one really valuable conversation, and that one person who could help you achieve your objective and help be that game-changing, create that experience that's a game changer. So I'm not saying you go into a room of 100 people and find one person and they're going to change your life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, your objective should be to have a quality interaction with at least one person, so that you walk away and there's going to be a continued dialogue with that person after the event. And that could result in a collaboration. For me, even, when I've gone into networking situations, big crowds and everything, and I have all these business cards, I'm not trying to just paper the venue with my business cards. No, I really look for value, and I really look for an experience where I can build a relationship, because that's really what it's about. My relationships are what's gotten me referrals. My relationships are what has helped me take my career, my business to the next level. And so even, something as simple as going into an event, and I've talked to half a dozen people. Well, in the last event that I went to, that was the case. I talked to about 6 or 8 women at an event where maybe there was about 50, 55, 60 women at this particular event a couple weeks ago. And I met one person. I met a couple people that I really, really liked, but I did meet one person that we've continued our dialogue. I'm going to be speaking at CSUN in a couple weeks as a result of that conversation. And if I wouldn't have put myself out there, and if I would have just given up after talking to 3 people and maybe having some superficial conversations, I would have never had that opportunity. That CSUN opportunity, how great is that going to look on my resume? How great of other opportunities are going to open up because of that one interaction? And so I've kind of gotten off on a tangent here. I'm a little bit on a soapbox, but I just am so passionate about going in, taking a step back, regrouping, figuring out what is my objective, break it down. Okay, so I've got 3 sub goals that I have to overcome. I've got to get at least halfway into the venue. Maybe you don't make your way all the way into the back, but maybe the next objective, the next sub goal is, okay, I'm going to try to talk to 6 people and try to find one person out of that. Maybe the next objective is, I want to get my flyer into, 10 people's hands and have conversations. And then ultimately that's going to lead to at least that one powerful conversation that you have, that relationship that you can build. I hope that makes sense for people. I want to go over some of these insider tips that I mentioned in the previous segment. So I've gone off on a tangent here, but to give you some real practical things, first impressions are everything, online and in person. Obviously online, it's a bit of a different story, because you really get just a few seconds. If your LinkedIn isn't polished, if your website is not functioning properly, that's it. You've lost that person. You have a little bit more of a chance when you're networking in person, and that's why I believe my biggest insider secret is You've got to do both. You have to have an online presence, and you've got to get out into your community. You've got to join professional associations and then be active in them and actually participate. And so a combination of online, virtual networking, online presence, and then of course being in person and actually attending events is really, really important. And then what you'll notice is you'll start to interact with some of the, you'll create a circle, right? A circle of influence, and you'll start interacting with the same types of people. Like minds draw together. And then you can move forward with those people and build relationships and grow your business. So when you're thinking about first impression, when you're in person, obviously it's the way that you look. We pass judgments. We make judgments about people based on how they look. People pass judgments. I don't show up to professional networking events wearing no sleeves. And that's for a reason. I already look funny with my hair and my nose ring and my, my fun makeup that I do. So, and I've toned the makeup down over the years, so it's not as crazy. I used to do all kinds of colorful things with my makeup. So now I've tried to tone it down. I still wear a lot of makeup. That's okay. That's what I like. But I don't show up showing all of my tattoos because people make a judgment call. And maybe today in 2016, we're more flexible and understanding of people that do look different, that have tattoos, have piercings, whatever, colored hair. But if I want to be taken seriously, especially in professional settings and business settings, I've already got some factors that are kind of funky that are not necessarily working for me in that type of a setting. So I have to kick it up, and I've got to look professional. And especially if I want to do something fun with my outfit, I do have to cover my tattoos. So I do that. A professional, firm handshake is super important. You don't want a clammy, waffly handshake because that gives an impression of what some people perceive as weakness or not taking that person seriously. Another couple things in person that are really important is not wearing a ton of perfume or cologne because it can send the wrong message, and people, maybe they're going to sneeze all over you. I don't know. People can be really sensitive to scents, so that's really important. And then, of course, your business card. Have a nice business card. And what I mean by that is, I started out with something that was really, done at a copy store. It was really, mom and pop kind of thing. And as I've grown over the years, I use a little bit more polished tools, and I pay a little bit extra. But that extra makes a difference because people, they see my card, they remember me, they write to me, they call me, and I am able to continue the conversation beyond our initial handshake. So those are some first impression kind of tips. I obviously need more time for this topic. So in my last segment, I will come back with rounding out some more tips for you, some practical things for power networking, and then I'm going to go into an invitation for this upcoming event. So stay tuned and I'll be back.